Want to say a huge thank you for taking time out to spend time with us this afternoon. I know you could have been doing anything, but you decided that you want to come and spend some time with us. So excited. As a way of introduction, my name is Jimmy Oyenayi. I am the CRO of AI Squared. It's a small startup in Washington, D.C. Before then, I was working with Databricks. So I know a lot about Databricks. I spent 4 years at Databricks, whereby I was, managing our financial services. I also, you might ask me, what does the CDO certification really entail? It's nothing but a great certificate to honestly have on your resume. So I'm a certified chief data officer from George Mason, University. And you might ask me why I would do something like that. It's when I'm talking to data intelligent people like yourself, I'm not making things up, right? I must have spent time with over 100 chief data officers out there, and I know exactly what they're looking for when it comes to data. So I joined AI Squared about 3 months ago. It's been fun. And really what attracted me, before I introduce, my CEO in a minute, is, what attracted me to live in a company like Databricks, to come and spend an amazing time with the CEO of AI Squared. And one of the key things is when I look at the journey of AI, right? AI is good. We're building things. There's a lot of things going on around generative AI, right? But the thing is, how do we get that into the hands of the business, right? So you have the data scientists, the data engineers, the data analysts, everybody collaborating within Databricks or any of the data intelligent platform. But then how do we get those models into the hands of the people that really matters the most, which is the CIO, which is the CDO, which is the CFO, which is the CMOs, right? When the CMO is talking about customer churn, he's not talking about regression analysis, he's not talking about K-means clustering, he's not talking about XGBoost, he's not talking about TensorFlow, right? Do you see any CMO that says, what's the TensorFlow for doing churn-based analysis? I have not seen it. But what they want to see is, if my customer is going to churn, how can I respond in real time? And so that's what we're going to be talking about today, how you can get your model from the hands of the amazing geeks that we have into the hands of a business person who can then translate it into a profit revenue growth outcome. Does that sound like a good place to start?
All right.
Yes, yes? Awesome, I like that. Over to you, Ben.
All right, so I'll save my introduction, but Jimmy, I would like for you to introduce our special guest.
So we're going to keep that special, but now it's out of the bag. So we have the opportunity of having the CIO of Coca-Cola Florida, an amazing coach, an amazing mentor who's doing amazing things in the industry, who will be sharing with us later on today how he was able to use a platform like AI Squared to deliver value to all the salespeople within his organization, making sure that when the butlers are delivering, the products to all the different locations, things are not out of sync. So I'm not delivering all these bottles of Coca-Cola products to the wrong destination, right? And how can I respond in real time in terms of, the customer propensity, the customer churn, the customer management? How can we tie those two things together? And the CIO of Coca-Cola Florida will be spending, some time with us today. But before we get into use cases, let's talk about the core and the foundation of the product, itself, and then I'll welcome, our special guest, Terrence, to come and spend some time with us later in the discussion. Over to you, Ben.
All right, thank you, Jimmy. Yeah. So Jimmy is like the greatest hype man ever, right? Like you guys remember Flavor Flav, right? Some of you guys do. I see some head shakes, right? But I feel like I'm up here and I'm ready to go because Jimmy's the hype man, right?
Yes.
So a little bit about AI Squared, a little bit of background, and then we'll jump into kind of the technology and the value that we're providing for different organizations. So my background, I did a PhD in CS. I went to Harvard, MIT for post-grad work. It was a joint program for health and science technology. And then I was recruited to the National Security Agency, worked at the NSA for 10 years. My last two positions, I was the head of data science for the Edward Snowden leaks. And then I was the chief of operations data science over at the National Security Agency in their operations directorate. I left NSA. I was actually, Jimmy mentioned he's a previous Brickster. I'm a Brickster as well. I was here when they were still in the hundreds of employees. They hadn't hit 1,000 yet, and now you guys are like 7,000 plus. But I started as a solutions architect because I had an idea for a tech, and I knew a lot about problem mission fit and not much about product market fit. And I was like, I know Spark. Spark is really popular at NSA. Let me try my shot at Databricks. It turned out really well because I got some RSUs. Anybody in here has RSUs from Databricks? Any hands? Okay. Jimmy does.
I do.
All right. So, after Databricks, we started AI Squared. We're on this journey. We're working with Fortune 100, Fortune 500 organizations, including Coca-Cola Beverages Florida that we're going to talk to today. But we've also been ranked as a top 10 AI startup, and we're on pace and just raised over $25 million of capital across 2 rounds of funding. Okay, so companies are at different stages in their AI journeys. Okay, what we've seen in particular, organizations are in the first stage with regards to centralizing and being able to activate data, right? How do we get quality data? How do we manage it? How do we synchronize it? How do we govern it from a centralized repository to make sure that an organization has access to the information that's necessary to drive decisions, right? So organizations are on this journey to centralize the data and also activate just the data. And this is before they've actually even started, right, to go on this journey of building and deploying the AI and machine learning models, right? They're still on this data quality journey. So companies that are at this middle stage are really, their goal is, okay, how can I build a world-class AI and machine learning capability, right? And then the next stage is really the activation of the AI insights that are coming from the models inside of the workflows, right? So not just activating the insights in a one-off dashboard that's outside of the workflow, but actually activating the insights in the workflows of the AI consumers, right? And when you think about adoption, if you really want adoption, you have to be able to get the AI insights in the workflow of the 1, 2, or 3 applications that the business uses on a day-to-day basis. So some of the key problems that we're solving from a first stage perspective on the data activation side. So there's the automating of the data syncs between the warehouse and the app. So how do you get it out of the warehouse into the application? It's a traditional reverse ETL problem, right? But there's also, there's federated data across these organizations. So how do we eliminate the silos and empower the organization to have access, right? Organizational-wide access to the data. But also from an AI activation perspective, right? So the ML ops, right? So the ability to be able to register a model and be able to grab the insights from that model and push them into an application so that the AI consumer can not only have the insights, but provide feedback on the insights, which is super important. And then really simplifying AI adoption. We'll go a little bit more into AI adoption, but that's a really big and critical piece of the puzzle because it's not enough to just have accuracy and performance. You need to have insights that are actionable, that are relevant, that are timely, that are contextualized, that really support data-driven decision-making, right? And not only is that important, right, but it's also, from a metrics perspective, it's important for the leaders to understand what's actually driving value, right? Am I getting productivity gains, efficiency gains, usage gains, engagement gains from deploying and utilizing this AI technology? So, where the challenges lie, okay? So, you all have seen this, kind of AI, life cycle before, right? Where start with the data prep from the model training to the deployment. And, what we started to see across organizations is that it's one thing to create a purpose-built app where you're exposing a model API endpoint into this purpose-built application, right? That's one thing. But to activate the insights from AI into currently existing tools and applications is the wild, wild west, right? Everyone has their own, kind of API integrations or, organizations have their own frameworks for integration. So it's the wild, wild west. So what AI Squared has done is we start to build these custom connectors that help standardize how you're actually going to take the insights from these models and these data sources across the organization and push them inside of currently existing tools and applications, okay? All right, so stage one, right? Data centralization and activation. So what AI Squared is providing is the ability to easily sync, right, the data from the warehouse to the business apps, okay? So no file uploads, the ability to, circumvent the, traditional API integrations and directly be able to leverage those insights in the application. Now, if you've been here for the past couple of days, you know I was not gonna walk off this stage without making some type of announcement. So I'm gonna put on my, best Ali Ghosi hat, and I'm gonna make an announcement. So we actually, as an early stage startup, we've done 2 rounds of funding, but we were able to acquire the world's leading open source reverseETL technology, which is providing the infrastructure that's supporting us to very seamlessly and efficiently start to push these data resources into these applications, okay? All right, the second problem, which was AI ML ops, right? So this is, I have all of these models that I built inside of my organization. So we work with financial services, Fortune 100, Fortune 500 financial services organizations, as well as the National Security Agency, right? 10,000 models inside of, the DoD from a perspective of one organization, right, that does national security. 10,000 models. And 95% of them were never making it into application. So the idea is that AI Squared provides you with the ability to be able to register those models regardless of where they come from across the organization. So they could be deployed with AI Squared, deployed with Databricks, deployed with AWS SageMaker, Azure ML, wherever the models are actually coming from. You're registering them inside of the platform so that your applications now have access to those insights, no matter where the model lives, okay? So we call it our model catalog. All right? And then the third stage, which was, right, the joint data and AI activation, right? So this is a really key important piece. So we talked about the first stage. These are organizations that are centralizing data, and they're just focused on, activating the data, okay? But what we've heard from organizations is that, yeah, it's really great to activate our data, but we want to activate both our data and our AI insights inside of an application together, jointly. So what AI Squared was really built on from a foundation perspective was the ability to empower our customers to be able to accelerate both the delivery of data and AI insights into those business applications, but not just a way where you're sourcing the results, but you're making those results actionable, relevant, timely, and contextualized, right? To really drive the increase of the adoption, the overall AI adoption, right? Which is super important. So we're cutting the time, we're cutting the cost, because we've created these custom connectors, right? These connectors don't just allow us to surface data, but it's allowing us to do things like harvesting, rendering, harvesting data from the actual field of view in the application. Is actually empowering us to do things like rendering, where we're rendering different visualizations inside of these currently existing tools and applications, all the way through to one of the, the biggest features that we've been hearing from our customers is really the feedback. So it's great to, accelerate how the AI insights are getting into the application, but we need the ability to understand and grab the feedback, right, from those models so that we can increase accuracy and performance, but also increase the impact and the value that those models are having, right? Because it's one thing to increase the accuracy and performance, but if you're not giving a great experience through the AI capabilities across the organization, you still won't get the level of adoption that you're looking for, all right? So we've created, these custom connectors that not only allow you to embed visualizations, but they also allow you to harvest, render, and grab that feedback in the workflow. So you can customize feedback. For an LLM, for an example, you can say, all right, if the LLM is right, that's great, but if it's wrong, tell me why the LLM was wrong. So I want that feedback. Also, give me additional context for why the LLM was wrong, right? But also, I want to be able to rank the results from the LLM from 1 to 4, and I also want to provide that back to my data team. But I also, if it's a RAG implementation, I also want to be able to understand if the RAG implementation had the right data sources, right? And if it didn't, what other data source should I add to my RAG implementation to increase the accuracy and performance. So our connectors are not only sourcing the insights, but we're harvesting, we're rendering, and we're getting the feedback. And that's one thing that no other company can do right now. And it's really all about this idea of lean AI. So as quickly as possible, inside of the workflow of an AI consumer, help me be able to deliver the insights as quickly as I can, and help me be able to gather feedback as quickly as I can so I can understand the overall AI experience, okay? So experience from an accuracy and performance, but also impact and value perspective, okay? Is the model actually helping you make better decisions in your workflow? We're asking those types of questions and getting that feedback, and that's helping us increase the experience, which is increasing the overall AI adoption. All right, so in the end, how does Databricks fit into this? So there's three components of our platform. There's reverseETL, where we're going directly from the Databricks warehouse, and we're pushing the insights inside of these different applications using our custom connectors. But there's also the reverseETL for AI/ML, and that's where we're connecting to either models that are in the registry, models we deploy, or models that have been deployed across other organizations. And we're using this reverseETL for AI/ML. Kudos to Matej Zaria, who helped me come up with that one. And we're pushing those insights directly back into the application. And then the last one is lean AI. So lean AI is basically from the feature store into the application with the feedback, right? And that allows organizations to iterate really quickly. So one use case, there was an organization we're working with in financial services, 8 months to deliver insight and feedback inside of a Microsoft Dynamics application. We came in about 8 seconds, we were able to deliver those insights, right? So when you think about the speed in which you need to iterate to understand what should the organization be investing in, the lean AI capability allows you to ascertain that by understanding which capabilities are providing the most value, and those are the ones that you invest in. All right, and then from an architecture perspective, we start with ETLing data into a feature store for the model inference. We have a model catalog that allows us to, whether the model's deployed internally or externally across the organization, whether it's in Databricks or outside of Databricks, we're cataloging those models. And what we do is we ETL the data or the insights from the models into what we call the AIS data store. And what that provides us with is basically it's a warehouse that's powered under the hood by Databricks. And ultimately, inside of the applications, the end users are making requests, right? They're saying, hey, I want these insights. And from the applications, we use our custom connectors to go to the AIS data store, which holds all of our insights. We run a query against the insights, and we push those results back into the application. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jimmy.
Thank you very much. I probably don't need the, I might need the clicker. Here we go. I'm going to use this time to bring up, Terrence, who will be talking to us about, some of the use cases that we have seen there at Coca-Cola Florida. So thank you so much, Terrence, for joining us, this afternoon. Can we please give me a round of applause, please? Thank you. Having your customer come in and, stand on your behalf is absolutely amazing. You can come up on stage.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So, Jimmy, I think you used one too many amazings when you introduced me before. Reality is, I'm an old COBOL programmer just trying to pull our organization into kind of the 21st century, right? We are doing some kind of reasonably interesting things at Coke Florida. A little context there, right? We're not the Coca-Cola company. We sell the brands. We love the amazing traditions, but we are Coca-Cola Beverages Florida. It's an independent company that serves most of the state of Florida. So if you go to Disney World, you go to Universal Studios, and you buy a Coke product, it was probably manufactured in one of our facilities, sold by one of our sales folks, distributed on one of our trucks. So again, a little bit of context, there. And the reality is this. Again, these guys are much smarter than I am. I wouldn't be able to explain how we use the tool any better than they have. I think they've done a good job of doing that. Again, the reality is we do have a number of applications, and the thing that we were trying to do is make sure that we could get the greatest speed to value. And we found that by using AI Square's tool set, we could do that. Again, we had a sales organization, have a sales organization, about 300 folks that are dedicated to sales. And there are other people who support sales, but about 300 people are dedicated to sales. And the reality is, on any given day, any one of those folks probably have, let's just say 20 different stores that they could go to. In each one of those stores, they could have 20 different decisions that they could make. So our ability to pull insights, into applications like Salesforce or from Salesforce and then into another sales application many of you may not be familiar with, but because it's really specialized to CPG industry, excuse me, called Spring Mobile. But our ability to do that, was hampered simply because, we would have to have gone to, the Salesforce and so forth to get them, to make changes to those applications. So instead of getting them to make changes to the applications, we leveraged AI Squared tool set to be able to pull that information in using the reverseETL technology that Jimmy and Ben, talked about. The thing that I would tell you, and again, this goes back to my role. I mean, I have responsibility for technology and enterprise transformation at Coke, Florida. With technology comes along with it the CIO's role. I am not a deep technologist. My real job, as I like to think about it, is really using technology to drive transformation. And we talk about that in a very specific way. The things that we do, it's got to be rooted in strategy and ultimately sustained by culture. And in between, we try to use technology and data to drive as much of the change as we can get. And the change is really across two dimensions. We're trying to change what the organization can do, but just as importantly, we're trying to change what people believe is even possible. And the reality is, I really don't want the 300 people that I described to have to worry that much about the technology itself. I want that to run as seamlessly and as silent as we possibly can get it. And so the work that we've done with AI Squared, allows us to be able to have credibility when we tell our folks, listen, we've said that we've been on this journey to be the best CPG company in the world. That's what we want them to believe. We've also said in order for us to do that, there's certain behaviors that we need everybody in their particular domain to adopt. And in order to do that, we know we've got to reinforce that with having the tools that allow them to get the reps in, right? To build the habits, because that's what drives change. It's a combination of belief, habits that will get you consistently to the behavior you want that drives to a good business outcome. And so for our organization, instead of spending our time and energy trying to figure out how to build the technology, we've partnered with AI Squared. And what I do instead is really, focus on being the change evangelist that can, again, have the appropriate capability. Because when we say we're going to do something, change what we can do, right? We're able to back that up with partners like AI Squared, which then changes what people believe. And the outcome for us has been great, right? We didn't exist 10 years ago. We started a company in 2015. At that point in time, we're about a $300 million organization. We're at $2 billion today. And in order for us to continue that growth, a lot of this is about scale. And the way that we continue to get that scale is by partnering and leveraging technology the way that Jimmy and Ben described it. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of peek into what we've done and how we've done it.
Thank you.
If there's anything else that you want me to talk about, I can.
This is
As of
amazing.
yesterday
This
morning,
is
I wasn't
awesome.
on the agenda, right? I get a text message in the morning saying, hey, since you're here, can you
Since
come
you're here,
and
come in
hop
here.
on stage?
Yeah.
So I'm here. Hopefully
Thank
you
you.
got a good sense for it, and I'll turn it back over.
a
little Q&A between you and Jimmy.
Oh,
We'd love to
I
know.
like the Q&A.
That could be dangerous because I'm not sure I can answer Jimmy's questions.
No, we just make it as vanilla as possible. So what made you decide on a platform like AI Squared for some of the challenges that you're faced with that will help solve? Why AI Squared?
A lot of it is speed. You're right.
Yeah,
I mean,
thank you.
again, my hope is that I described this well enough. This is about kind of speed and credibility.
Thank you.
Right? So my intention, again, we're a relatively small organization. We don't have any intention
Yes.
of trying to duplicate what guys like you do
Yes. Thank you.
every day. So this was a lot about, again, speed and credibility. I wanted to have the credibility with the organization to say, listen, we need you to behave in a different way.
Yeah.
And again, just to put this into context, what sometimes happens, and I don't know who's in a similar organization, but the sales guy shows up. I mean, and again, they walk in the store and there's a million different choices that they can make. And what we're trying to do is to take much of that decision making out of their hands and to say, when you show up, this is the store you ought to go to, and these are the 3 or 4 things that you need to do. Yeah. So we have to be able to bring that kind of insight to their fingertips quickly. And we might still be coding stuff on our own, trying to get there, versus leveraging a tool that exists. And so no rocket science there. Yeah. But for us, that we make, we move, we sell, we service. But at the end of the day, we're a selling organization, because if we don't sell it, we're not going to have any reason to make it. And that is the thing that we had to bring to life.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Terrence, for spending time with us. Can you please give me a round of applause as well? Thank you. Thank you. That is one aspect of how our customers are taking advantage, of the platform. Another one is, a customer who's in a marketing organization, and they're looking at ways to be able to, reach, and extend, right? So let's say a customer is about to churn. What I'm looking for, if that customer is going to churn, I need to be able to respond automatically that customer is going to churn, and be able to respond quickly. With current day architecture, you see that the customer is going to churn, but there's no way for you to automatically react to that and say, oh, by the way, this customer is going to churn. This is why they're going to churn. Or this customer has this product in their shopping cart and they've taken it out. You need to be able to respond immediately. One, why did he take it out of the cart? If I'm able to provide a much better discount whilst they are still on that page, send an email to them and go, by the way, that product that you just took out of the shopping cart, I can give you 30% more discount. Do you think they'll go back and basically buy it? Absolutely, right? It is the ability to be able to respond quickly to actions and activities. And the 2 things that allows you to do that, one is the quick data activation that you have, which is almost a real-time sync. And 2 is the model that you're basically feeding information to in some sort of a feedback loop. And I was actually joking with another C-level executives yesterday, and we coined this term, model service bus, right? We are the bus. You get on the bus with all your models, and we take you to different destinations. When you get to that destination, you might buy cookies, you might buy some food, you might buy fruits. And when you're coming back and you get on that bus, guess what? You're not only coming back with fruits and cookies, but we're coming back with additional things to your destination. So we are more like that model service bus. You go in to your different destination, you do something. It might be Klaviyo, it might be HubSpot, it might be Salesforce. You do all the enhancement based on the model. We enhance that model. We write that information feedback into your data warehouse or data intelligent platform to make the model smarter as you go along. So you're making your model smart in real time, which is where that engine for that transportation is really critical to manage quality, to manage efficiency, to manage time, and to also respond, like Terrence talked about, how can I respond in real time if my drivers are going to the wrong location? The way to do that is to have location sensitivity, so I can quickly send a notification going, you are heading to the wrong location. So that is what a platform like ours, provide for organizations like yours. We'd love to spend more time with you. I think we still have probably about a couple of minutes. Ben, do you want to show us a little bit, just whet the appetite in terms of what the environment looks like? And then we'll continue the discussion around the team.
Yeah, you got it, Jimmy. And I love Jimmy's analogy of the delivery of cookies, cake, ice cream, candy. But Jimmy, did you eat today, Jimmy? Just to be.
I have not eaten today, so hence my food analogy. Okay, so this evening it will be like steak, fish. So I'll go into the restaurant feeling hungry, right? On a Waymo, which is also a delivery mechanism, right? And then I get back and I come back home and I'm full. That is my model enhancement. I get the data, I put it in my S3 bucket, which is like right here. And gosh, I did not just say that. Where did that come from? And SageMaker is able to look at what is in my S3 bucket and be able to respond pretty quickly to it. And the action might be go to the gym. Or the app mode might be you're not happy enough, go get a tequila vodka. It's all part of Kafka and the workflow, right? So I did not mean to say that.
All right, that's great.
Okay.
All right, awesome. All right, so welcome to the. Wait a minute, let me.
Not welcome to Kafka, okay?
Let me slide this over 1 second.
No worries. Whilst you're doing that, we can keep. Here you go.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Awesome. If you want to expand that, that'd be good. Awesome. Great.
All right. So welcome to the AI Squared platform. So what you're seeing here is essentially a dashboard of the sources and destinations that we have from Slack to Databricks, all the way through what we'll talk about later is an internal AI Squared data store. But this is the entry point for how we see exactly what we have connected to within the platform. But it also has some metrics that's associated with, the syncs, as well as the number of information that we've also processed so far. All right. So what you'll see on the left-hand side, you see some information that's associated with reporting, models, as well as the sync. So I'm going to go to the data integration section. I'm going to show you the different sets of sources, right? So what we're going to talk to you about today is a use case where we're going from a Databricks warehouse to an internal AIS data store that's powered by a Databricks warehouse. And what we're doing is we're showing how the information or the insights that's traveling from a batch model result set to the AI Squared data store, and we're leveraging the information from the data store to push those insights into the currently existing tool and application of our choice. And what we're going to show you guys is essentially how we're going to integrate inside of, for an example, Microsoft Dynamics. Okay. So here are the sets of sources that we've already connected to. So we have two connections to two different sources of information across, some batch model results, right, that are now clearly accessible to us in our platform, okay? We also have a set of destinations. And the set of destinations include things like Slack, Stripe, Klaviyo, but we also have this internal destination that's called the AIS data store. And what that is it's a warehouse that's powered by Databricks that allows us to push the insights from different models or the query results from different data stores and be able to store that centrally, right, inside of the platform so that now we have the insights ready to be activated inside of the destination application. Now, before we actually run a sync or sync the data from source to destination, what we have to do is we have to make a query for exactly what insights that we want to pull from the batch model results. So what we start off with is essentially a quick query, and what you guys will see here is essentially the query, and what we can do here is we can actually run this query really quickly. And what you'll see is we're querying against the actual data store where the batch model results live, and what we're saying is we need these specific features that we're going to be able to make available to our application, right? And what you see is for a set of customers, you see a set of scores that are associated with churn, okay? So these are our batch model results that we're going to activate inside of the application. All right. Now there's also this idea here of a sync, and the syncs are just a scheduled from source to destination flow of data. All right. Now we're also going to go and we're going to show some of the ML ops capabilities. Right. So this is essentially our catalog of models that we have internally in the platform that we're inferencing against. Right. So as we sync data from source to destination, the data that we're syncing comes from both batch model results or centralized data stores of information, but they can also come from inference that we're running against models as well, right? So we have a path into the applications from the data store, path into the application from the deployed model, and path to the application from an actual batch model result set. All right? And now here's an example of a couple of the custom connectors. And what you're seeing here are custom connectors that not only allow you to connect to from source to destination, right, and move data, but it also allows you to harvest data from the field of view. It allows you to render different types of visualizations inside of the application. It also allows you to create these feedback loops where you actually have widgets that pop up where you can say, hey, here's exactly how I felt about the experience that I was provided through this AI capability. Now, when we click inside of, we're going to use the connector that's associated with a Chrome extension because it allows us the agnostic capability to be able to integrate inside of any app. And we're going to show just really quickly the integration inside of Microsoft Dynamics. When I click on that actual custom browser extension connector, what we're seeing here is the 3 different models that we're integrating inside of that Microsoft Dynamics application, right? So what we're doing is we have a custom connector. That custom connector is pointing to different models, and those different models are going to be triggered, and those insights are going to be pushed directly back in the application, but not just sourced in the application or activated, but activated in a way that's going to provide a really great experience with custom visualizations.
Awesome. Great. Want to
All right.
run those model cards?
All right, perfect. So when I come here, see if I can refresh the screen. I can grab it.
Who was in Casey's demo this morning when she was doing things like in real time, right? I was so excited about that. Like in real time, I was sweating on her behalf. So I know we have about, about 2 more minutes, left. So we'll run that and I'll yeah, 1 more minute.
All right.
So this is the Microsoft Dynamic environment that the model is going to be served inside of, right? That Ben is going to be rounding, up with. And
what you're seeing here is essentially inside of Dynamics, we're harvesting information from the actual field of view, and we're sourcing that information directly back inside of the application, right? So what you're seeing are the models that we identified that were coming from the actual platform. We're on demand making calls to those models and sourcing that information back inside of the application. So what you're getting are the results from the different churn models that are associated with, all right, I'm looking here at Alice Allison. What's the probability of Alice Allison churning from a financial services perspective? And I'll stop there. We'll open it up for any questions.
thank you very much. Can you give Ben a round of applause?